Can you get a shout out? Sure. You were shouted out, Taylor. Congratulations.
I'm so sorry. I'm late.
Ah, no worries. No worries. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, it's all good. We got time.
I think my email was being funky.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Well, I got Instagram Live going on right here on the side too. So, um, giving everybody updates and all that good stuff. So,
Thank
all
you.
good. There's always some kind of technical difficulty that goes on,
Yeah.
so we're prepared for it. Last time Instagram Live cut me and Marie McCool off like 3 times,
Oh,
so I
geez.
had to start it up every single time. So I don't think we're gonna have that problem here. Plus, we're gonna have way more capabilities. It's gonna be totally dope. Now, really quick before we get started, for those of you guys who are on Instagram Live, if you want to see the whole conversation and you want to hear Lauren's responses and not just my beautiful voice, go ahead and click on that pinned comment, subscribe to my newsletter to get the Zoom link so that you guys can listen in. We're going to be going through some videos. We're going to be using some whiteboards. It's going to be totally dope, totally fun. We're going to have a great time. All right. So enough of you guys for Instagram Live. Again, you know what to do. Lauren Gilbert, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
Well, just trying to get all these things put in place, but all good. Had a good workout this morning, and tonight I have a clinic at UCLA for their
Fun.
women's team, so I'm very excited about that. And
Fun.
just trying to train as many people as I possibly can, and trying to help them to reach their goals. And it's
Love
a
it.
good time. Yeah, what's going on with you?
Not much. I actually just got back I was up in Portland for work this week, so I just got back this morning and it's a nice day here, so just a good Friday afternoon.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Mhm.
Is it cold up there? Because down here in Southern California, it's kind of like freezing. And, for
Really?
us, it's like 60 degrees or something like that. But for
Yeah.
us, it feels like the North Pole.
Yeah, it was pretty cold, honestly. It's kinda cold up here too, like, it's windy right now. It's sunny but windy, so,
Mm.
yeah.
Well, that is kind of okay for you because, I mean, you played at Northwestern, right? In the
Yeah, this
Windy
is
City.
anything's warm compared to that.
I was watching some clips and I'm just looking at the stadium in wintertime and I'm looking at the snow and I'm looking at the water right next to it. And I'm just like,
Oh my gosh.
golly, I couldn't hang. I couldn't survive. I mean, I would
Yeah.
stay in that stadium, and I hope it was pretty probably well heated, right?
Yes, the indoor was a life changer. We didn't have it my freshman year, so that year, I committed, obviously, after having only been there in the summer, so I didn't really factor in the fact that it was gonna be below freezing a lot of the time, and so my freshman year, there were several practices where I really questioned my life. But once we got the indoor, everything turned around.
Oh, for sure, for sure. It's a game changer for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm a wimp. I don't like the cold. Everybody knows this. I would take a scorching hot day any day of the week over the cold because it's just, it
Yeah,
takes so much longer to warm up. Oh man, you get your hands hit. That's no fun. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so you're just freezing, it's blistering cold. Anyways, I've had to coach in the rain a couple of times where I just stand there for like 2 hours. That's no fun. I wish I was out there playing. I mean, at least you're getting warm that way. So enough
Yeah.
about the cold. Let's talk about. But actually, before we jump into free positions, let me read a little bio just in case people don't know who you are or haven't kept up with you. Let me grab my notes right quick. I'm just going to read a little bit of a bio about you. This is from, I think, the Northwestern website. I'm going to read it. It's a little long, so I'm going to try and speed read it. But Gilbert was a 5-year letter winner and started 63 out of 81 games from 2018 to 2022. She is the fourth leading scorer in the program's history with 225 career goals. Gilbert also contributed 59 assists, 155 draw controls for the Wildcats. She finished her career ranked 6th on Northwestern's career list with 284 points. Dang, you get buckets. Okay, I love it. Gilbert helped lead Northwestern to 2 Big Ten conference titles and 3 appearances in the NCAA semifinals. In 2022, she was named to the NCAA Championship All-Tournament team. She received first team IWLCA All-American honors in her last 2 seasons, also recognized as a second team All-American by Inside Lacrosse and USA Lacrosse magazine. In 2021 and 2022, Gilbert received all Big Ten first team recognition. As a fifth-year senior, she started all 21 games and led the Wildcats with 79 goals and 106 points. Gilbert also ranked second on the team with 27 assists. I'm not going to read the rest. That's a lot, but I'm going to put this little thing on here to put a little end cap on it. She was the recipient of the N Club Award given to the best male and female student athlete in each graduating senior class. Gilbert served as a captain for the Wildcats for 2 seasons and transitioned from midfield to attack during her sophomore year. That sound all about right?
Yes.
Of course it is, right? It's from the website. So also, I do want to throw in there that you have played for and still continue to play for Athletes Unlimited as a pro player too.
Yep.
What's your position there? Is it midfield? Is it attack?
I've been playing attack, planning to actually dabble in midfield this summer because I want to get better at both ends for sixes purposes. So
Sixes. That's no joke.
yeah.
That's no
Yeah.
joke. I watched the Unleashed game. Y'all was going
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yes.
That's got to
A
be
lot of
super
running.
tiring. Yeah.
Very. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how did you get your start in lacrosse?
Mhm. Yeah, so I obviously being from Oregon, not a super hotbed lacrosse area, but my mom grew up on the East Coast and she played field hockey in college at Dartmouth. And then she also actually played a little bit of lacrosse, JV lacrosse. So she was the one that knew about the sport and really advocated for my sister and I to start playing when we were young. So there was luckily a small, very small, but existing youth league in our town that we participated in. And then I was fortunate that my high school coach had a lot of experience and was one of the better programs in the state. So that was what really kind of pushed me into focusing more on lacrosse. But that was how I got my start. And then I was really more of a soccer player growing up. So I was that like dual sport athlete. But I think my lacrosse game, a lot of it reflects how I was as a soccer player. So it's definitely good to stick with your other sports growing up.
For sure, for sure. I mean, I didn't grow up playing lacrosse. This is like news to a lot of people. In fact, I grew up in LA where, we thought lacrosse was like some kind of French bread. We just didn't know what it was. Many people don't know this about me, actually. It's like I've never played. I didn't play in college. I didn't play in high school. I didn't play youth. I didn't play any of it. Only as an adult, I learned about the sport, long story short, fell in love with it. And here I am today training people, interviewing people like yourself
Yeah.
to spread the gospel of lacrosse to the masses because it's a wonderful sport. It's so awesome. But basketball is my main thing. I play
Mhm.
basketball 2 to 3 times a week, and I try and play lacrosse as many times as I can. But there's not a lot of opportunities like you mentioned up in Oregon. It's kind of
Yeah.
sparse out here in LA. But anyways, let's talk about free positions because this is
Yeah.
one of those
Yep.
things, in my opinion, that there's not a lot of great information out there on.
Mhm.
And whenever I try and search, there's, just little tidbits and, stance and setup. But
Yeah.
when we're talking about actual technical advice, tactics, what
Mhm.
to do in this situation, player preference from running it in to shooting it to passing it to not shooting it, there's, I think, a lack of information with that. Or maybe it's paid or whatever it may be. So what I want to do in this conversation is explore best practices from your viewpoint. Now, for those of you guys that don't know Lauren is excellent at taking free positions. And correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the free positions that you took, especially at Northwestern, you ran it in. You didn't really take a time in the room, step down shot.
Mhm.
But I think you ran it in because, I'm going to brag on you a little bit. You're Speedy Gonzalez. You're pretty fast, right? Is that pretty
Yeah.
accurate?
Yes, yeah, I definitely wanted to use my speed to get that closer in shot because I knew that, I have a strong shot, but getting power all the way from the 8 isn't necessarily my strong suit, so I figured better to get that closer angle.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, why don't we do this? I'm going to use the whiteboards right now,
Mhm.
and we're going to go ahead and sketch out, an 8 meter,
Yep.
and we're going to put all the hashes and everything that we talk about here is going to be recorded for those that, have joined so you can go back and watch this later. It's going to be on YouTube. Actually, I started messing around with this a lot earlier, so it's actually pretty cool functionality. So I can make these as, perfect as possible. I'm going to do this right here. Oh, yeah. And then I'm going to go ahead and line them up. Text align, alignment, booyah. Okay, so now let me grab the pen tool. Whoop. Whoop. All right. And so I'm going to actually color the hashes different colors right now.
Mhm.
2, 3, 4. And then we'll put the lower hanging hash. I think I added an extra hash right there. My bad. All right there. Oh yeah, let me actually make one more line. Here we go. And then we'll also put the penalty dot too. Um, I think that's an important thing. These little lower hanging hashes. Man, my hashes are way too spaced out. Let me erase this right quick. Okay. And then we'll put the little penalty hashes right here, or penalty dots right there. Okay. So I think you also have whiteboard capabilities, but I'll mark it up for you. And we'll start with this right here. We'll start with the center hash, because
Yep.
that's probably one of the best places to take it from. And I'll let you talk about this in a second. What I would, advise players to do is, if you have a center, you should probably take it,
Yep.
whether you make it or whether you miss it. I think that's the best position that you could start off with, is that center hash, as opposed to being like out here, right? You're going to have to look for your opportunities. But yeah, can you speak a little bit to center hash and just the tactics of each hash in a second, in the context of whether to take it or whether not to take it?
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. Honestly, my mindset personally on, at least these top 5 hashes was pretty similar. So I was really focused on trying to cut one of the defenders off. I mean, step one, explode off the line. So I really learned to view. I struggled with 8 meters when I first came into college, and my coaches were like, you should not be struggling with these. You're so fast. Like, you shouldn't be struggling to get a shot off. Obviously, sometimes the goalie might make a good save or whatever, but I was running in, getting checked. I was like not able to get a clean shot off. And it's because I was focusing mentally way too much on the actual shot rather than focusing on, when that whistle blows, I need to explode off the line, and like literally viewing it almost like you're going off the blocks on a race. And so that's how I came to view the 8 meter, was really step one, explode as hard as you can when the whistle blows, even like looking for the ref when their arm goes down. That's the signal that you can go. So physically seeing the arm move, sometimes that happens, but even before the whistle. So I was really looking for that first. And then in step two, cut one of the defenders off. So I did what, my team kind of referred to as tucking underneath. I did it dodging a lot, and then I kind of applied that to my 8 meters. So on this center hash, I would
Actually, I'm sorry. Can I pause you right there, right quick? Because I do have some videos of you actually doing those things. So let me go ahead and stop this whiteboard right quick, and let me share my screen, because I do have that video queued up. Give me 1 second. So for those of you guys who are listening, this right here, okay, you recognize this specific play, right? This was awesome. If you guys didn't see it, try and find it. It's hard to find on YouTube, but I found a clip on Instagram. I watched this game. It was amazing. But we're going to go ahead and play this right quick. You could see this, right, Lauren?
Yep.
Right? Okay. So this is obviously not a center hash, but, it's pushed off to the left. It's close to the wing, or the elbow, excuse me. And it's the closest hash right there. And I think I can annotate on this right quick. And if you want to annotate too, I think you have those abilities as well if you want to jump in there. But Lauren's right here. She's on this hash, right? So she's going to drive it in. But if you notice already, like how you had mentioned, Lauren, you could see your head is turned this way. I'm probably sure you're looking at this official right here, correct?
Yep. Correct.
Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and play this so that we can enjoy this game-winning free position right here. I had to throw in all that extra stuff because it was, too good not to throw in right there. We're going to play this from a different view too. Let me actually rewind it back. And I'm going to pause it really quick. Can you talk to us really quick while I have it paused, what you're looking at, your stance right here, and then we'll get into the tuck in a second and all that good stuff.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So looking at that ref, there's always, right, one ref positioned high that you can't see, and then there's the one low. So you immediately know that one low is going to be my signal. So I'd always right away lock in on where that ref was, because, the second you pick up the ball, you don't want to be confused where they are. So make sure you locate that ref before you, step up to the hash with the ball. So I'm looking at her, watching for her to put her arm down, like I said. And then, yeah, my stance is really, like I said, almost like if you watch track sprinters, like going off the blocks. That's how low I would honestly try to get, because it's all about that first step. And I knew that if I beat, this defender right here on my right, if I beat her off the first step,
Fish that out.
he has little to no chance of catching me.
Yeah. So for those of you guys who can see this defender right here off to Lauren's right, she's obviously in a very low stance as well, to try and catch up, to try and be a distraction to Lauren. So Lauren's going to cut straight in front of her. She's going to tuck. I think number 55 also gets in there as well. And so you tuck away from her and you finish off the right side of the cage. But really quick, talking about the stance right now for girls that do run it in, did you do any additional training or work in practice outside of season to work on just exploding out of that stance in particular?
Yeah, 100%. I did so much speed and agility because I knew it was a strength of mine. So I figured, like, why not make it a strength to a point where it's like unstoppable. And so I did a ton of ladder work. I did a ton of resistance band training, all throughout the off season as well. And I was lucky I had a great strength coach in college. And so I worked with him on, really honing in on a lot of those explosive movements. But anything you can do with, like, for example, in the summer, I would have my sister take like one of those longer resistance bands that you used to stretch. I'd have her wrap it around my waist,
Yep.
and like I'd practice exploding and just doing those starts over and over again. And then when you take the band off, it feels like you can go twice as fast. So doing all that kind of stuff really helped me to um, make this part of my game just so superior to what the strength that it already was.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because what I see from, the tournament circuit is there's a lot of fast girls out there, right? But when
Mhm.
you get to this level of play, I'm assuming everyone's kind of fast, right? And so
Exactly.
you got to do, and you got to make sure that you're giving yourself an added advantage by putting in that strength, that plyometric, that resistance
Mhm.
band work. I mean, for you in your area, it might be different for me in my area. You're NorCal, I'm SoCal. A lot of SoCal kids that are trying to go and play at these, big schools, right, that maybe have gotten, a scholarship or recruited or whatever, a lot of
Mhm.
them are not putting in any kind of strength work right now. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's super important, just first of all, for your overall fitness, especially as a girl. It's so important for that muscle building. We know, like, just with the knees and the hips, it's so important to have strong muscles around all of those things when you do explosive movements. Just it's obviously safer, but also it's building that muscle, especially as the game gets so much more physical, going from high school into, underclassmen, upperclassmen into college. Everyone's just getting bigger, faster, stronger. And so I think it's incredibly important to do that stuff. And it'll just make you feel so much more confident on the field, because lacrosse is such a stop and go game that you can't really just glide through. Like, you're constantly having to come to a stop and then restart. And that's hard on your muscles and on your body if you haven't practiced it a bunch before.
For sure, for sure. So, word of advice to all you kiddos out there, if you are not doing some form of strength, right, and resistance training, you need to start. Now, I got some stuff for you guys in the future coming. A lot of, I think, kiddos are scared to lift heavy weight. You don't have to go and lift 300, 400 pounds. You don't have to start with that. You could start just with body weight and some resistant bands. So, again, I asked that question because when we talk about actually running off of a hash on an 8 meter, you want to be explosive. We're not talking about time in rooms right now. We're talking about actually running it in. And so giving yourself the advantage to get by the adjacent hashes is like super critical, super important, because what I've seen at a lot of club tournaments, a lot of games, is you'll stay neck and neck with that girl, or the defender might be a little bit faster than you. And so
Mhm.
you're going to have to take that shot immediately after that first step, which is not always a bad idea. But at the same time, I always tell the girls, look, if you're right in front of the cage, that's kind of hard for the goalie to stop, especially
Yeah.
if you're putting in 40-mile-an-hour fastball or something like that. So anyways, let's play this from this angle.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Buckets. Okay. So we'll go into this clip in a second, but we'll rewind right here. I think this
Mhm.
is a really good angle to see this tuck right here and
Yep.
this curl.
Yep.
Actually, let me go back to this. This might be actually a better angle too. So break this down. I'll keep going back and forth, but just go ahead and break down now. You're not shooting immediately right there, right? You actually
Right.
get in front of the cage and shoot opposite. Why did you do that?
Yeah, so you'll notice every time that girl adjacent is she's gonna have her stick as far out as possible, right? Because she wants, she knows her stick's gonna get there before her body. And so by the time I get in there and I go to shoot, her stick's kind of, you'll see it's right there. And
Yeah,
so I
I see it
know
right
I need to get my body in front of that. And I do that by, like you were saying, taking that really sharp angle, making myself super small. And that second that I see myself about to run into toward her stick, that's when I tuck. Because her body, while her stick might be in my lane, her body's behind me. So I know
there.
if I make myself small, I can get underneath there and she's physically behind me. So that at that point, she really has no chance of stopping me. And then also at that point, my stick is in front of myself. Like I'm taking that shot within basically my shoulder frame. So I'm
Mm,
not hanging it back for a check. So I'm tucking underneath, keeping that stick in between my shoulders. And then I just have a really quick release there at the end. It also helps because the goalie, if you notice, if you stop it right there, right? The goalie has a really good angle at that point, and I don't have a good angle to shoot the ball. So if I were to shoot it there, it'd have to be a really good, like, low dart for that to go in, most likely, and that's hard to do from that angle. Whereas if I keep carrying it, right, the goalie has to stay with me, and she's not, then you see how much the goal opens up
oh, for
just in
sure.
those 3 steps. And so that's another reason why I carry it all the way across the crease.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, a couple of points that I do want to touch upon, and I'm going to stop sharing for a quick second so people could see this, um, with our full selves. You talked about bringing that stick inside of your shoulders.
Mhm.
I got to tell you, that's just huge. And this is
Yeah.
something that I actually preach consistently when we're talking about attacking inside the 8 with all
Mhm.
those sticks and everybody crashing, right? A
Mhm.
lot of girls are not used to going from here, loading up, right? Exposing their stick a lot more
Yep.
to bringing it in here and maybe shooting from, a little bit above their head, a little bit on this side, a little bit on this side, right? Speak to this and how this is a preferable shot as opposed to loading up inside of the 8.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Like you said, there's a time and a place for that, right? When we know we're far
For sure.
out, there's no one around us, then we want to get that really big wind up, load up all the way. However, like you were saying in the 8, there's so many sticks and we need to be able to have that quick release. And so when we're between our shoulder frame, there's really no way a defender can check us or get to us without fouling. Like, and that's why I also am so aggressive with my 8 meters because I know if the defender were to stop me, more likely than not, it's going to be a refoul and I'm going to get to line back up. And that would happen to me very often as well. If they, just try to throw their stick at me or
For
throw
sure.
their body at me, then it was like, okay, just getting another 8 meter, oftentimes on a better hash. So, yeah, basically that between the shoulder release is just an amazing way to protect yourself, number one. And number two, just be able to get shots off so much more quickly. Because if you think about the time it takes to go from a cradle position right to here
Yeah.
versus here all the way back to here, that's adding on at least an extra 1 to 2 seconds, which may not seem like a lot, but when you're under a high pressure situation, you're trying to get a quick shot off, it is a lot.
For sure. And so for the young players that are watching out there, one way that you guys can actually practice this is on the wall. It's actually playing wall ball. So what you guys could do, I don't have my stick with me, but essentially what you would do, I'll grab a ruler. I got a ruler, so this is what we'll do. So a lot of us on wall ball will, bring it back here, snap it, all that good stuff. But what we're actually going to do is work on getting our elbows out, snapping forward, just from there. It doesn't have to be very powerful. And as you've stated right now, Lauren, when you're driving in, it's more finesse at that point. You're not loading up to,
Yep.
get it above 50 miles an hour. You don't have the time. You don't have the space to do so. Everybody's crashing. So practicing this on the wall where, you can call it a nose break or a tomahawk, whatever you guys want to call it out there. It's basically passing from inside your shoulders and not allowing the stick to go past this shoulder right here. Because every time it goes back, you do allow a little bit of stick to get exposed. And when we're talking about stick protection, especially on 8 meters when we're running it in, this is essential. So all you young players out there, make sure when you're hitting the wall to incorporate this type of pass that will then translate to that type of shot. Other
Mhm.
thoughts on that? Any thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
and one quick add on to that is I was fortunate that my coaches were big proponents of what we call Canadian left. Some people call it like up off the shoulder, but keeping the stick facing out. So you're not actually turning your wrist over. You're keeping the stick head facing out and you're just releasing from that opposite shoulder. And what this does is it gives you the ability to release the shot from the other side. So like sometimes on 8 meters, right, my body's going really hard this way. The goalie's going with me. So then I see that near side of the net opens up. And so I'm able to finish back across my face. And so we called it Canadian left. I think that's like generally what it's called in the lacrosse
Oh
world.
no, yeah, it's called Canadians. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
learned that early on, like,
Okay.
from here to here, Canadians. Like, and
Yes.
the kids always ask, why is it called Canadians? Like, I don't know,
Yes.
it's just called Canadians. Like, I guess Canadians do that. So
Exactly. And you can practice that on the wall too, very easily. So that's a good.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. The other thing I would say too, if you guys are trying to practice that shot, just stand in front of the cage and practice that, just straight on right there, especially if you're brand new at that particular skill. Stand in front of the cage, start right here, bring it across, fire. Stand
Yep.
right here, do the same thing, do it over and over until you get good at it, and then start adding some movement and then starting adding some tucks and all that good stuff to build
Mhm.
that particular skill up. So good. I got one more clip because I think this clip actually is a really good highlight of that, particularly talking about looking at the official, right? Whistle prep on that. Also, the tuck as well. This game right here that you're going to see, this was Northwestern versus Duke. Awesome. Awesome play. You guys go back and watch that. I think I might post that on my stories. So right here, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the setup right here. Obviously, you're looking at the official, right?
Mhm.
You have your defender that fouled you right behind. You have probably 2 adjacent defenders that are ready to come at you hard. Let me go ahead and play this through right quick. All right. So let's break this down because now you hear the whistle. Right
Mhm.
here, it looks like you throw a little stick fake. Can you
Yes.
confirm that was a nice little stick fake? Break this
Yeah.
play down right here.
Yeah. So same starting position. Obviously, I'm taking that again. I want to emphasize the sharp angle, and I emphasize this with girls all the time with dodging too. Because this was something I had to learn. Is like sometimes we have a tendency to we just want to when we dodge, right, we want to go around the defender and we sometimes veer off of our course toward the center of the 8. And so it's so important to remember like taking a sharp angle toward the center of the 8. Same thing with an 8 meter, right? Sometimes it's easy to just like go in a straight line instead of looking at the 8 and saying, I want to get right toward down the throat, right toward the center of the cage. And so always know like, okay, see the center of the cage. That's where I want to get to take my shot. So that's the first thing when you're lining up as well is obviously seeing the ref, but also seeing the center of the cage where you want to get to. So it's that same start.
I'm just bringing the whiteboard up. So I wanted to
Yeah.
paint that sharp line that you had mentioned.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and do it really quick. You know what? I think you might have the capabilities. I don't know if you could do it on your computer, but
Yeah.
let me do this right quick. I think you were right. You're on this hash. Or no, actually, you were on the adjacent hash right here. And what you're talking about, taking that sharp angle, you
Mhm.
would have 2 defenders, obviously one right here, one right here. A lot of girls will just go straight in, right?
Yes.
Just like that.
Exactly.
And the angle on that shot is not very good at all.
Exactly.
And so what you're saying for those of you guys that are watching is you want to take more of a sharp approach. Also, keep in mind that you're trying to cut off defender 1 right here. This is defender 1, defender 2, right? You're
Mhm.
trying to cut this girl off. And so that's what Lauren does right here in that
Yes.
sharp angle, correct?
Exactly. You nailed it. Yeah. Like you see that minor difference between the first line you drew and the second line you drew, but it makes a massive difference on the angle that you ultimately end up getting. And remember where we showed where the goalie was in that first clip, right? She's hugging that near post. So if I take that first line that's in yellow, right, I'm going to have little to no angle to squeeze the ball through. Whereas if I take that blue line, I'm giving myself the whole goal to shoot it around her. And I'll ultimately just end up in a 1v1 with the goalie, which is what I want.
I love it. I love it. So let me ask you this question, then we'll get back to that clip because it's really similar to the first clip that we showed. Oops, I think I might have erased too many things here. Let's talk about hashes really quick because it seems that you really, if you have that speed, you can run it in from any hash.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think honestly the only hash that I would slightly hesitate was like that far left hanging hash. Any other
Mm.
hash, I was like, I feel confident that I can get a good shot off. So yeah, I think it was really the same mindset for me, no matter where I was setting up, was just locking in on powerful start, seeing the ref, cutting that defender off, getting that angle right down the throat, and then, using those finishes that we were just talking about from, that quick release between your shoulders, doing either just a straight on shot or Canadian left. Those are really the things that I hammered down and practiced religiously from all of those hashes as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me go ahead and share my screen again so we could watch that clip and finish it. Because then I have one more after that, I believe, too.
Mhm.
So again, that little stick fake, super important as well. We'll get to this clip in a
Yeah.
second. Stick fakes. Obviously, that happened in a very, very short amount of time. I mean, you have like a nanosecond to actually throw that fake. Were
Mhm.
you practicing that in the off season? Is that something you added to your training repertoire?
Yeah, 100%. I think I learned that with 8 meters, you are getting in well, at least for this strategy, right? You're getting in so close that for the goalie to drop low, it was really tough, right? You see her there, it's like she's doing the splits, trying to it's really hard to get there from that close in, and when you're going that fast. So I realized, if I drive the ball low, that's probably gonna be my best shot at getting it in. And so then I started working on that really quick high fake. So you see as I'm coming in, right? I start out low. I told you guys earlier I want to make myself really small so I'm nice and low. And the deception there is that I'm bringing her up, right? When I do the fake, my stick's coming up, my
Right
body's
there.
coming up.
Mhm.
So then she's forced to shadow that. And so then when I go to drive the ball low, that's where she's really stretching and she's not able to get there.
Yeah, because you already made her move. She's not moving too terribly much, obviously. She's reacting to the first hitch, right? Which is so
Mhm.
important. Is
Exactly.
throwing that little fake. Even if she didn't have a big reaction of really trying to go for that save, she's at least looking for it too. Because if she doesn't, obviously the read for the next couple of free positions will be okay. She's actually not reacting to it, actually going and fire on that first, fake or whatever. So yeah, no, I think that's super huge. So for all those girls out there that are also working throwing in fakes in tight spaces, this is a great example of that. Again, I'll put this in my story so you guys can watch. And then here's what I always say to the young kids too, is like, find these clips and then go
Mhm.
practice the exact scenario. Have a
Yep.
parent with like a pool noodle or a teammate. I mean, this girl right here could have got yellow carded again. I mean, look at her
Yeah,
swing.
that was pretty bad.
She going for your head right here, dog. So, it's crazy, but it happens. Like, that's what I be telling, like, hey, it happens. You might get fouled. Get back to
Yeah.
the line. Really quick, because this is like a little thing from me. A lot of kiddos, especially when I was coaching high school, they would get hit, they would get fouled, right? And obviously it sucks. It's never cool to get fouled or to be fouled like that. What was your guys' mindset whenever you got fouled? Were you like there to like talk to the ref? Were you pouting a little bit? And I mean, I think that's okay every now and then because we got to put it in the ref's mind. But what was your mindset like if you did get fouled by this girl right here?
Mhm. I was very much a let my play do the talking person. So I figure, using my energy on them is in like a verbal way is just kind of what they want. Like they want teams that foul a lot or really try to get physical with you. If your defender's trying to get in your head by getting physical with you, they're just looking for that emotional reaction to be like, oh, I'm in their head. So if you don't give them that satisfaction, then it rattles them because they're like, why are they not reacting? And I always told myself in those situations too, around the goal, the best revenge is making the shot, right? There's nothing that they want less than to get scored on. So I'm going to score on them.
Yeah, so basically you could do all that talking, all that pressure all day long, but I'm about to
Yeah.
get some buckets on you and it's not really going to matter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying like really communicate. The people are different, right? Players are
Mhm.
different. Some people respond to different motivations, right?
Yeah.
But I think if you could keep your cool, which I think you're essentially saying, keep your cool in those types of situations. You get fouled, understand that's part of the game. You're going to get hard fouls. If you're hurt, ask for a sub, or get back to work because that's
Yeah.
really what we have to do. We have to do that because we're not just playing for ourselves. You can go and, curse that girl out, go ahead and try and throw fisticuffs. I've never seen girls throw fisticuffs, by the way. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen girls like actually try and go at it in a lacrosse game?
I honestly haven't, no.
Yeah, I don't
I
really.
mean, I've seen things get pretty feisty, but not to that point.
Yeah, no, I think that's more of a guy thing, doing fisticuffs and all that stuff. But yeah, just get right back into the play because your team needs you,
Yeah.
and then really that might be a play of frustration on the defender's part,
Mhm.
and I'd see that happen all the time. So let me finish up with this last one, and then we'll talk quickly about actually shooting, time in rooms and stuff like that. Want to get your
Yeah.
thoughts on that.
Yeah.
So we finished with this one, and let's go to this. Okay, so I think you're playing against Michigan in this particular one. Again, emphasizing looking at the official, right? Very low
Yep.
stance, making yourself small, especially for those girls who are going to run it in. Really
Mhm.
quick, let's talk about your staggered step.
Yeah.
Why do you have your right foot back and your left foot forward? Is that just a player preference thing? Can you do it either or?
So, pretty much every person does have a foot I think they're stronger off of. Honestly, kind of like a dumb little test, but if someone pushes you, whatever foot you instinctively go to land on, is probably your stronger foot pushing off. Also, if you know, we're always lining up for the draw, other things within the game, and so typically you'll notice, oh, I'm always lining up with whichever foot forward. So that's probably the foot that you're more comfortable or stronger pushing off of. And so I definitely felt stronger off of my left foot. And that's why I always went to and another way I found that out was actually from our fitness test. I was always we did the beep test and I always pushed off with my left foot, turned off my right foot, and found that that was my best, like most efficient way of running.
Gotcha. Love it.
Yeah.
Um, Foot flat on the ground or off the ball of your feet or your
Um,
your front foot. I
the
mean, your back
front
foot
foot.
obviously is. I mean, I think we could actually see it in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we see that, but front foot just straight on the ground, right? Not
Yeah, straight on the ground, like, the heel might be a little bit off, but generally just straight on there, yeah.
okay. Okay. Cool. So again, youngsters out there figuring out your stance, go ahead and give this a try. Do the fall test, right? Figure out which foot you like to go forward, and then really rep these things out. What's another way that you can practice like just that explosive first step? Um,
Mhm.
Maybe in pregame, like we're getting ready for pregame, and you want to kind of like activate that. What's one way that you would recommend preparing that first step?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, doing, like, a warm-up where you're, like, shuffle, shuffle, sprint, because then it forces you to open up and push off that front foot. Anything where you kinda go from a slower speed, like, if you go from a slow shuffle into a sprint, and forces you to, like, turn your hips and push off really hard. Anything that's kind of, like, stop and go is really, really helpful for this. Another drill I would do on my own a lot was I would create a box with different colored cones, and I'd start in the middle, and, if I had, like, my sister, my dad, or a teammate there, someone to yell different colors at me, then I'd go touch the cone, get back to the middle, go touch the cone, get back to the middle, and obviously it's conditioning, but also mostly just focusing on when they say that color, it's like the whistle blowing, gotta go find it, gotta go get there as fast as I can.
Absolutely. That's some Steph Curry type of stuff right there, trying to find the right color code and all that good stuff. So I want to pause really quick. For those of you guys that are on Instagram Live, I don't think there's like but one person right now. But if you want to see the whole conversation, click on that pinned comment. You'll get access to my newsletter and you can see the whole conversation there. So, okay, let's play this clip right here. Booyah. Love it. Okay. Well, really quick, look at this right here. This wrap right here, I think is so important. And this is where we encourage younger players, practice your cradling and practice all types of cradling, practice tucking, practice hitching, practice all those types of things, because when you actually get into the game, you're actually going to use these types of things. And as you can see right here, you have this girl coming in hot, stick trying to check that off your right hand. You tuck it to your left side, and you obviously add some stick protection there. You also right here, I noticed that you're kind of like, putting your head in between your shoulders. Is that a tactic and a technique you also work on as well? I mean, I would encourage the girls, I would tell them like, you kind of want to turtle up sometimes, to protect your
Yeah.
head.
Yeah, I mean, getting low was such a theme of my game, especially on 8 meters, because like I said earlier, remember when I was talking about her stick will be there, but her
Yeah.
body won't? This is the perfect image to show that, right? Like you see she's trying to throw her stick in my lane. and all I have to do is get low to the ground, make myself small, and that's where that major tuck comes in. The tuck applies, like you said, it's not just the stick, but it's the body literally tucking as well.
Oh yeah, right there. I think that's a perfect image of that right there. Because now,
Mhm.
even if she does make contact, it's not touching any part of the stick. It's actually
Right.
touching your back shoulder right here, which is I think is super important in terms of stick protection. Your elbows are flared out somewhat, and obviously you're keeping your head up, and you can see where the goalie is in order to place that ball at the end of this run right here. We'll go ahead and slow it down and place it right here. And again, you're beating them on speed. You're coming from one side of the cage and you're going to the other side. And I think this is, again, like you mentioned, a perfect example of all those things, cutting off that defender protection, right? Tucking, seeing the goalie, and then finishing on the opposite side. I don't think I didn't see really like a fake in here. You just kind of just beat them on speed, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. So these are all the clips right here, guys. I'll go ahead and put these in my stories, and then this will also be like some B-roll for the YouTube video. Um, let's talk really quick because we got a couple more minutes. We got about 13 minutes to go on this. Let's talk about actually shooting, right?
Yeah.
Not running it in, shooting. And I'm going to go ahead and bring up my whiteboard again
Mhm.
so that we could talk about that, because it's a little bit different than running it in. Now, you might not shoot from every single hash, right? And I
Yeah.
think it's what side you're going to be shooting on is really dependent on, if you're a righty or a lefty. I think if you're a good shooter, you could shoot from both sides. Let me see if I could erase this right quick. But yeah, I want to get your thoughts on it. I can't find my
Mhm.
eraser tool. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I'm going to erase this right here. So we'll talk about, let's see, find my pen. We'll just label this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that'll be the same thing on the opposite side. So if from a shooter's perspective, right?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but 1, 2, 3, and maybe 4, I'm shooting if I'm confident, if I practice.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
I've seen some kids, some pros, take a shot from 4.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is one that if you practice it a lot, you're able to see. I think it's all about just seeing the angle at that point, like seeing where you can get the ball through and then obviously being able to execute. But just firing it at the goal won't be good enough at that point because you do have such a small space really to get it through. But yeah, I think 1 through 4 are still great opportunities to, all great opportunities to score.
Yeah, and if you're on this side of the 8, you're probably a lefty, right? If you're at 1 or 2 righties, I think you should be okay. 3, I think you're stretching it for that. But if you're a righty, you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Essentially, you're
Yeah.
going to be shooting this, 2, 3, 4, probably not 5 or 6. I think now let's talk about the girls that are not as confident in taking that shot or running it in, and let's say they're on number 4. What's a
Mhm.
good protocol then if, like you said, maybe you're a midfielder and you don't have any lines, right? And you get
Yeah.
fouled and you just ran 200 yards down and back. You got a turnover. You got fouled inside the 8. It's a free position. You're not that confident in taking that shot or running it in because you're just dog tired.
Mhm.
What's a good protocol for that? What would you do in that type of situation?
Yeah, for sure. If you know for sure that you don't wanna shoot it, or you feel like the passing option might be better, the first thing is obviously to see if you can pass it to someone who is an immediate scoring threat. So, we would work a lot on stacks, getting stacks low, on the opposite side. So, if the ball is at 4, where the opposite 4 is, the opposite hanging hash, if you can beat the other team down there and get 2 girls stacked right by that hash, then one of them can box and one of them can cut in, and that could potentially be a great option, especially if they're a lefty, right? They're able to catch it off that lefty cut there and then have a really nice shot, in the middle. Another option, if the other team is doing a really good job defending that, you feel like there's too much traffic, is getting someone at the top who's either a confident dodger and or a confident 8-meter shooter, yep, right where that one is, and they, instead of cutting in, can pop if there's a lot of traffic in the 8 or it looks like there will be a lot of traffic, they can pop out, and you can look to hit that over the top look, and then they can either, it's high potential they'll get another shooting space call, off of that because there will be defenders flying out, or they could potentially have a nice dodge off of that.
Yeah, I think Aaron Koikadal and your buddies, Izzy Skane, do that very well.
Yeah.
I think they're taking, for the most part, all their time in rooms and, their 8 meters and stuff like that, but they're very good at drawing it because they are that shooting threat as well. I've
Mhm.
seen them pass and quickly turn and draw that shooting space, especially right here on
Yeah.
these little corners right here. This is a really good spot for girls to draw that shooting space. But I think the first thing that you got to do is just, number one, understand that that's the opportunity and look
Mhm.
for that opportunity so that you can draw that foul and then, obviously, get that 8 meter right there. Really quick, let's go back to the passing scenario really quick,
Mhm.
because I think this is important for a lot of younger players to understand. Say if you are on a four or just really anywhere, right? We'll go ahead and
Yeah.
erase this. And you are tired and you just don't feel like you can take it and you're just not confident in it, right?
Mhm.
I think your teammates' responsibility as well is to signal to you to, like, hey, let you know, I got your back. I'll be your outlet pass so that we can move the ball to the other side of the field, or maybe you can get off after or something like that. Let's just say you're a 3 and you got your teammate right here on a 5, just popping out right here to be that outlet. Especially if you guys haven't practiced that too much, I think it's super important. So teammates, present yourself as an option.
Mhm.
Uh, if you notice that your player, your person on the hash that's going to take that shot is not there, it's
Yeah.
understanding, what's going on in that particular play, and then executing accordingly.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's really important to have that awareness too of, if you see someone in good position getting ready to cut in, then it's like, okay, who's popping out? For every cut in, there should be a pop out. And it's important to have that balance so that one, the cuts in the middle have an actual chance of being open without too much traffic. And two, like you were saying, that outlet is there for the person if they need it.
For sure, for sure. I think that's all my questions really about, like, time and room. Like, time and rooms are easy, right? Taking the shot is easy. You got to just practice it over and over and over again. This is what I would recommend to most players working on not just being powerful, but actually being accurate. Try and
Mhm.
get some targets, get some cones, put them in the corners, put them right above the goalie's helmet right there, and try and really ping those corners, ping those cones as much as you possibly can to work on that accuracy. Obviously, adding in your strength elements, right? Your explosiveness, so that you could actually, whip that ball in. Because I think Emma Ward is a perfect example of that. Emma Ward's not the fastest, but man, she is so powerful. She is so fast on that shot. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever seen her run it in. I've only seen her take time in rooms, and I mean, she hits it pretty consistently.
Totally. Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, there's so many players who are incredibly talented that they all have videos online, whether it's Emma, Charlotte, Izzy. There's a lot of content out there to just watch their shooting form and watch how they line up as well. Cause some of them, like Izzy, a lot of times will line up like she's going to run it and then she'll come back and shoot it. Whereas Charlotte,
Mhm.
obviously, the big wind up. So figuring out your preference there is also important. But yeah, I totally agree with you. It's all about just repping it out, figuring out from each hash. I think it's important to have a general strategy. Obviously, you don't want to shoot it to the same place each time, but knowing, okay, from this angle, I'm really good right corner high. From this angle, I'm really good either side low, just kind of knowing what your specialties are, I think is always just, it helps with confidence when you step up to that line.
Absolutely. And the other thing I will add to that too is, like, if you guys can actually do it under pressure in practice, right? And really get that game feeling of people crashing on you from the adjacent ashes, whether you're going to run it in or whether you're going to, actually take a shot. That's going to be super helpful when you guys step into the game, because you've done it hundreds and thousands of times in practice under pressure, right? You guys need that pressure. And for those youngsters out there who are just a little apprehensive on putting a little pressure on themselves, that's actually a good thing. You should struggle, you should fail, you should go through the ringer in practice so that when you
Yeah,
get to the game, it's a lot easier and you've been there, done that multiple times.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was such a hammer it until I can't do it anymore. So that when a game comes around, it's like I don't have to think about it. The thing that you want in a game situation is to just think as little as possible and to fall back on your preparation and just know I've already done this a million times and this is no different.
For sure, for sure. Well, those are all the questions that I got on free positions. Are there any thoughts that you want to add, or any other things that you want to mention, particularly in just free positions and, being the best you can be at that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the last piece for this is to just also remember the mental side. I just mentioned confidence a little bit, but this can be a piece of the game that is a bit more mental because the game stops. It's like not in the natural flow. Everyone's eyes are on you to execute a play. And so sometimes it can be a little bit more of a heady aspect of the game. And that was something I struggled with as someone who's a perfectionist, and as a shooter it's like I want to make every single shot, and if I don't, then it's like, oh my gosh, I'm getting in my head about it. And so I really try to create a solid routine for myself. I did a little video on this at Northwestern, and I said I tried to view free position shots like a free throw in basketball, and I learned from just watching basketball growing up, a lot of players had their routine, like,
Oh
the
yeah.
two dribbles, the breath in, like you watch them do it. And so I then took that and really applied it to this. Like, you will see me if you watch a full video of a lot of my 8 meters. I'd step up, I'd do a few stick twirls. You see, I look up at the ref. And so I just had certain physical cues that were settling me into my routine. Because when it is routinized, right, that's what gives you confidence that you've done something before. And I really, that really provided that sense of calm to me. And I think that's why I was able to execute so consistently. And so I would really recommend creating your routine for yourself and also visualizing. I became a big fan of visualization and just also affirming to myself, the balls, I'm exploding off the line and being this girl, the ball's going into the back of the net, like
Yeah.
telling yourself the story. And that's ultimately going to be the self fulfilling prophecy. So tell yourself the story that you want to happen.
I love it. I love it. That's so good. I mean, as coaches, we try and, impart that into our players, but to hear it from someone who's been there, done that multiple times on the highest level is super huge. So thank you so much for that, because I think that is what a lot of girls are missing, you know,
Yeah.
um, set up a routine, visualize it, you will gain confidence after you've done it 1,000 of times, and just go out there, just do your best. And, whatever happens at the end of the day, you know that you prepared, you know that you've done everything that you needed to do. So just go out there and let it rip. So, Lauren Gilbert, thank you so much for jumping on this session. I really do appreciate it. A couple of quick things for those of you who weren't able to join. This is obviously going to be on YouTube. For all you Instagram live people, if you didn't watch it, sign up to the newsletter to get access. Where can people find more information out about you? Any upcoming clinics, classes, leagues?
Yeah. I think just obviously Instagram. I'm always posting about any upcoming clinics. Follow the AU Instagram. That will be lots of exciting updates about this summer. Follow Unleashed Women's Lacrosse. There will be more Unleashed, both camps and clinics coming up this summer, and then more games in the future as well with professional players. So yeah, follow all those and make sure to stay up to date on Pro Women's Lacrosse because it's on the up and up.
Oh, no, for sure. It is definitely on the up and up. I mean, I think I saw some games at my local 24, and
Mhm.
people see me walking in with a stick. They're like, "Oh, you do that?" I was like, "Yeah, I do a little bit of that, but not on the girl side because, I got a beard." But thank you again so much. Hopefully, we can get you down here, maybe do some free position
Yes.
type clinics and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I think a lot of the kiddos that I train would really love to do that. So,
Yeah.
again, thank you so much, Lauren. We really appreciate your time, and you have a wonderful day. I hope it's not too cold.
You
Stay
too.
warm, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, talk to you soon.